Okay, so we just did a bunch of Batman stuff, and we got more Batman stuff on the way. And we just did a whole bunch of G.I. Joe stuff before the Batman stuff. So I've got some Masters of the Universe, Multiverse, or Masterverse figures I need to open up. So we're going to get on those. But before I get started on that, we're going to open up this bad boy. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Mer-Man, Ocean Warlord from the cartoon collection. That means Filmation. This is a Filmation design. Fans familiar with the cartoon will recognize it. And we see 4 figures in this wave. I've already opened 2 of them with Tila and Trapjaw. I do not yet have Stratos. I'm kind of on the fence as to whether I want to get Stratos. I've already got the first Origin Stratos, the gray one. I've got the fleshy colored one that was supposed to be the mini comics one. Customized it to look more like the mini comics version because I didn't feel like it was close enough to the Filmation or the mini comics version. Thank you, Hector Garcia. Nice to see you. So yeah, I had seen previously the first 2 and only the first 2. And on one of my more recent trips to Walmart, I finally saw the second 2. I just haven't gotten around to opening him up yet. Stratos, last I checked, was still on the pegs at that time. And like I said, I've got 3 Masterverse figures to open. At least I think I actually have 4 because I have another one from an earlier wave that I haven't gotten around to opening yet. So 4 of those, maybe 1 more on the way because I know that Walmart by my work had gotten in the newer wave with the Battle Armor He-Man, and I definitely wanted to get that one. That's the Revolution Battle Armor He-Man, not the new Eternia Battle Armor He-Man, which of course I've already opened. But yeah, I can't resist Mer-Man. Everybody knows that I'm a big fan of Mer-Man, going all the way back to the earliest days of the line when my first figures were He-Man, Skeletor, and Battle Cat. Got those on Christmas Day with Castle Grayskull. Bought Ram-Man with some of my Christmas money. Then Faker came next. And I suppose it must have been on the package of Faker that would have been like an 8-pack, I think, where I was looking over that wonderful cross-sell artwork, and I saw that picture of Mer-Man, and I'm like, that's a cool-looking character. I got to get that figure. And then, of course, the disappointment when you realize the figure of Mer-Man doesn't really look that much like the cross-sell artwork that looks so cool. He was still a cool-looking figure, don't get me wrong, but they had to cut a lot of corners on that one, I think, because, you know, the technology just wasn't up to snuff in some cases, and probably in most cases, to keep the costs down, because they needed to keep the costs down on that first wave. So bye-bye to the paint apps on his boots and gloves. He's just got solid green arms and solid green legs, and bye-bye to the fancy sea monkey fins on top of his head. He just has kind of like cat ears now. But the face looked a little more menacing with the bug eyes and the piranha teeth. So, you know, it was kind of a trade-off. And then we have on the Filmation cartoon a third completely unique design for Mer-Man. And I think I've talked about him on this channel before because, you know, we talked about the Lords of Power. I don't remember. I don't think I was doing unboxings at the time that I got the Club Grayskull Mer-Man, which would have been the first Filmation Mer-Man I had. That's in scale with Master of the Universe Classics, but this is in scale with Origins and the vintage figures. So we got on the back, includes comic book. We got Mer-Man with the Pearl of Power, wrapping He-Man and Man-at-Arms in those mummy wrappings, and Battle Cat 2 includes the Pearl of Power, twisted turn into Power of Battle positions. There's the cross-sell artwork, which we've already looked at. Let's go ahead and open him up. And he does have, I believe, a unique comic book in here, so that means we got a comic book to read too. So this is a bonus episode if you're tuning in, because you get to see me read a comic book. Okay, so there's the comic book. Nice cover image with Mer-Man facing off against Stratos. Set that aside for now. And here is Mer-Man out of the package. And he does have some rubber tabs binding him at the wrists. I don't see one around the middle. He's got some at his ankles. So there we go. Get those cut off. But I think that's it, just at the wrist and ankles. And then the Pearl of Power. Nice little accessory. I don't know if it's coming through very well on the camera, but it's actually got like some, it's like a slightly translucent, pearlescent plastic with some little sparkly, glittery bits in there. So, looks quite nice. And then on the back of the package, underneath the figure, oh, come on, I already cut those. Still sticking in the package. And he comes with a single weapon, which is a trident. Now, one thing that I was disappointed about when I was looking over at the cross-sell artwork on the back is it looked like he did not come with Mer-Man's traditional corn sword. And I know there's going to be somebody out there in the audience being like, well, actually, he didn't use the corn sword in the Filmation cartoon. I don't care. He should have used the corn sword in the Filmation cartoon. I'm pretty sure I've seen him use a sword at some point. They could have just had him come with like just a regular sword even. But, oh man, it looks like, I don't know if that happened in the package or when I was trying to cut it. But there's a little bit of a scuff on his, on the wrist, on the gauntlet part of the glove. That's disappointing. So he looks to have the same hands that traditionally come on the reptile body. This is, like I said, this newer Filmation sculpt, so it's not the exact sculpt of the Masters of the Universe Origins figures. We'll get back to him in a minute. Right now, I want to look at this comic book. And I speculate, because I saw them show up in 2 different shipments, and they each have a different comic book with them, that this assortment was split into pairs, and that half of the assortment would have been Tila and Trapjaw, and the other half would have been Mer-Man and Stratos. So let's go ahead and read the comic book. And there's our first page right there. And it's got this kind of craggy, war-torn area of the surface, and it says, at the height of the Mystic Mountains stand the city of Avion, where its citizenry lives and thrives. However, it's a somber day, for they learned that the pride of their people has been stolen. And then we show the underwater city with domes over it. And as above, so below. Wow. That's some occult stuff there. Countless knots beneath the sea stands the vibrant city of Aquatica, where another great crime of thievery has taken place. The thief, stumbling over my words here, I'm sorry. The thief is as brazen as he is foolish. And then we see Mer-Man with the Pearl of Power and the Staff of Avion, and it says, at last, I've obtained the most awesome relics of the realm, the Pearl of Power and the Staff of Avion. With these, I shall flood all Eternia, turning them into an oceanic paradise. The Pearl of Power, a beautiful object capable of mind-controlling all Aquaticans. Oh, I'm sorry, that was in a narrative caption, so I started reading it in normal voice. The Pearl of Power, a beautiful object capable of mind-controlling all Aquaticans. They shall serve as my army. Best of all, no one can stop me, even if they try. I'll detonate the Staff of Avion's failsafe, releasing enough energy to destroy Eternia. This is a hard voice to talk in. I don't know. Is Lou Scheimer who did it? No, he did it. And with the confidence that will let ignorant. Well, now it's a narrative caption again. And with the confidence only ignorance can bear, Mer-Man releases energies from the Staff of Avion, destroying the levees of Lodi, flooding it. And then we see the birdmen up there. Come, Avions, we must stop this terrible flood and take back our birthright. Mer-Man's rampage would not go unchecked. A deadly battle ensued between the forces of sea and air. But though Mer-Man summoned forces of awesome power, he knew he could not control them. Bit off a little more than you can chew, eh, Mer-Man? I cannot control the staff! In my desire to cover Eternia with water, I drained the city of Aquatica, threatening the life of the ocean. Mer-Man, you've triggered the staff's failsafe. Once detonated, it will destroy the planet. And then just a panel of Stratos just glaring at him. And then Mer-Man blasts the staff at Stratos. Sorceress, please, we need your aid. And then the sorceress appears overhead, and she says, the avian staff is a formidable weapon with a moral compass on its own. When used for evil, it will self-destruct, but when used for good, equilibrium is restored. With Eternia on the verge of destruction, Mer-Man relinquishes the staff of Avion, restoring its balance. Stratos and a host of other heroes help the Aquaticans repair the levees of Lodi, halting the flooding of the continents. And then we could see the group down below with He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Extendar, and Orko. So hopefully it means we'll get an Extendar figure soon. That would be cool. And then the Aquaticans up here bringing Mer-Man to heal. After nearly destroying the city he yearned to liberate, Mer-Man returned the Pearl of Power to Princess Nami, ruler of the Aquaticans. There she is. So you see she's kind of like a female Mer-Man-looking person, and all the soldiers just kind of look like Mer-Man. I would have probably put them in like a unique armor instead of just drawing them to look like Mer-Man. That could be confusing for the kids. Princess Nami did forgive Mer-Man, but at the price of his permanent exile from this city. The levees have been destroyed, and the lands of Eternia are verdant as ever. Aw, isn't that pretty? And then we have our heroes looking over the landscape. Do you think Mer-Man learned from his ordeals, Stratos? After days of toil, the warriors celebrate a well-earned victory. Power for power's sake is dangerous. It often becomes a tool for evil. Agreed. For some odd cosmic reason, those who crave power are the ones. Those who crave power the least are those who most fit to wield it. That is true on Earth as well as Eternia.
Maybe that's why my magic is so strong.
That's how the cartoons often ended, with Orko saying something silly and everybody laughing at him. So they did kind of capture that. They didn't show the laughter, but we know it was there. All right, so that was a fun little comic. I enjoyed reading it. Let's talk a little bit about the figure. Now, like I said, he does seem to reuse some kind of standard origin parts in the hands and in the feet. These to me look like the kind of standard Skeletor feet like we had on the original figures. I don't know for certain because I don't have the Filmation Skeletor yet, but I would imagine the top part of the boots, that's probably reused from Skeletor. And these are wrists that we've seen before. I'm pretty sure that's the same wrist that was on the human arm of Trapjaw. So that's what that looks like. He does have armor that wraps all the way around. It kind of opens with a tab in the back. We would have to take the figure apart to remove the armor, so I don't think we're going to bother with that right now. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. Well, first let's talk about the colors. The colors match up to the cartoon very well. I do think the yellow is maybe a little bright. I want to say that the yellow used on the cartoon was a little more sort of mustard yellow like the original toy was, but I don't blame them for going with a brighter yellow in this case. The blue-green color of his skin is pretty much perfect. This is an excellent Mer-Man color. I like this color an awful lot. All right, the head sculpt. Let's talk about the head sculpt a little bit. Dead on to what the character looked like in the cartoon. Like I said, didn't really necessarily look like what the toy looked like or what the cross-style artwork looked like. It was they did their own design of Mer-Man, and I think it's really cool. I really like it. And this is very accurate to that version of Mer-Man. So let's talk about the articulation now. Mer-Man can look up about that far, look down about that far, kind of tilt his head quizzically from side to side, although the fins on the side of his head do kind of get in the way of that. Turn his head all the way around. You can move his head around in all kinds of neat ways because it's got that ball joint on there. The arms do rotate all the way around at the shoulder. The shoulder armor does kind of hinder that somewhat, but it is kind of flexible, so you can still get some good range of motion out of the arms. The arms have a single point of articulation that bends about that far. He's very muscle bound, as Masters of the Universe figures tend to be. Arm can bend down about that far, so straightens out completely. And of course, the arm joint also rotates at the shoulder, so you can get a good range of motion out of the arms. Wrists rotate all the way around and then have a horizontal hinge, so you can move it back and forth. Same with the other hand. Legs kick up about that far. He's really muscle bound, so can't do too much as far as that goes. Almost a 90-degree angle at the knee, and then of course there's a boot cut. Boot rotates all the way around. I got the rocker ankles, which ankle points down about that far, points up about that far, and then rotates all the way around, so you can get a good range of motion out of his ankles. And then of course he can rotate at the waist. And like most of these Origins figures, I'm pretty sure he just comes apart. So you can take them apart, switch parts around with other characters if you want, and that'll make it easier to take this armor off. Fans of the original Mer-Man figure will notice that the Filmation version of Mer-Man, his armor is somewhat simplified. He doesn't have the fins sticking out of the belt buckle. So, but again, this is accurate to the cartoon, and this is supposed to be accurate to the cartoon. Although I do wish that they had taken the liberty of giving him a corn sword, which they did not. I'll just have to use the corn sword that comes with one of the other Mer-Man Origins figures, or I can 3D print one if I so choose. But I do wish he'd come with one, and I didn't have to put the effort into it. Trident's a pretty cool weapon, though. I like it. It's pretty sharp looking. It's a distinct shaped trident. You're not going to confuse it with Aquaman's trident or anything like that. And of course, since he does have this more modern style articulation, you can put him into a two-handed pose with the trident, which is cool. One of the problems with characters that had staff weapons in the original Masters of the Universe lines is since their arms could only really move up and down, like you couldn't get a two-handed position out of any of those staff weapons, but that is not a problem with Origins. So the overall look of the character I really like. He's got like this kind of goofy, stunned expression on his face, which again, that's what we're used to Mer-Man looking like on the cartoon. He wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, and wasn't the most courageous fellow or anything. I always thought of Mer-Man as being kind of one of the more toady-ish, not toad as in like an actual frog, but and he would be more of a frog than toad because he's amphibious, but more just kind of sort of like he would be the guy more likely to kiss up to Skeletor kind of thing. That's how I've always seen him anyway. But this is a great figure of Mer-Man. I'm happy to have another Mer-Man in my collection. And, it's cool that I have, in Origins, I have 3 distinct Mer-Men who all, like, fill various roles. I have the one that's the vintage toy, and I have the one that's the mini comic or the cross-cell artwork version, and I have this one that's the Filmation version. So all your bases are covered. I know I'm not alone in preferring the design of Mer-Man from the cross-cell artwork. I know that when the Four Horsemen did the 2000X line, they based that version more on the cross-cell artwork because they were kids who were disappointed that they didn't get a figure that looked more like that. And then when they did the Classics line, again, he came with that mini comic type head. Now he came with a toy accurate head too, so and cover all your bases there, and that's pretty cool. And then eventually they did a blue version of that, and that was the one I got. I never managed to get the green version. I only had the blue version. And then they did the Club Grayskull figure, which was very similar to this. And I have that. Very happy to have that in my collection. I do not have any of the Masterverse versions of Mer-Man yet. I've only seen the Revelation one at retail a few times, and I didn't have the extra cash to pick one up either time. And I was a little disappointed that he didn't come with a breastplate. So even if I get that one, I'm going to wind up making him a breastplate. But then they made another Masterverse version that did come with a breastplate, and I've never seen that one at retail, but I would really like to have it. Anyway, Mer-Man's such a great character, and I love him. And just like it's the visual aesthetic of him that makes me like the character so much. I'm a big fan of the classic Universal monsters, and he's got a lot of elements of Creature from a Black Lagoon in him, and that's pretty cool. I know that Donald F. Glutt, who was the guy who wrote the original mini comics, he had a fondness for Mer-Man, again, because he was a classic monsters guy, and Mer-Man kind of reminded him of Creature from the Black Lagoon. So that's where I think a lot of the influence for this character came from. But he's pretty cool in his own right, even without the Creature from the Black Lagoon type of DNA running through him, which just makes him more awesome. So anyway, love Mer-Man. Mer-Man's one of my favorites, and he's not one that like a lot of people love Mer-Man. I know like a lot of people kind of tend to look down their nose at Mer-Man. Yeah, maybe he's not as cool as say Beastman or Trapjaw. Maybe not as intimidating as those guys, but but to me, he's just as important a character and just as essential a part of Skeletor's retinue of evil warriors. So you gotta have Mer-Man. Sorry, you gotta have Mer-Man. You don't have a full complement of evil warriors if you don't have Mer-Man. That's pretty much it for this episode. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, hit the little bell down below, all that fun YouTube stuff. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Mer-Man, both this figure specifically and the character in general. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.